Welcome to another episode of Tiny Chair Talks. Today's topic, united, divided. Church politics. Politics, that is. Where do we go from here? The direction of the church. Let's get comfortable. So good to see you, Leslie.
It's good to see you, Ray.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to get you on the show for the longest time, and your schedule is so busy. I'm just so privileged to have you.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here.
I'm so glad, so glad. And we're Indian brothers. You're East Indian,
That's
I'm
right.
West Indian.
Hey,
so
there you go.
Love it, love it. So a lot of us, guilty of this myself, we don't know much about the church structure. Give us a brief outline of how the Adventist church structure is.
Ray, it begins with you and me. The church is not a church without people. And so it begins with people. Jesus didn't die for a church. He died for people and as individuals. A delegate is an individual that is chosen by the church to serve in a representative capacity. Those delegates serve in the capacity of serving the wider spectrum of the decisions of the church.
So now, does a delegate represent the entire union? What area or capacity?
Depends. What happens is this: there are various decision-making levels.
Right.
For example, we don't have delegates in a local church. In a local church, they have like a nominating committee which elects the elders and the deacons and the various roles of leadership in the local church. But when it comes to a conference, for example, my position as the president, that position is an elected position. So a church from Charlotte, a church from Spartanburg, a church from Columbia, they will send delegates to a session that takes place once every 5 years. And then in that session, those delegates have the opportunity of voting those leaders or choosing a new leader.
What about the weight scale?
The thing about the weight scale is this: divisions that have larger memberships have more representatives.
How is it meant to be interpreted as far as the church manual?
For the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the scriptures are the foundation of everything that we believe or practice. But then beyond that, we have the church manual.
Right.
When you have an organizational structure of any kind, you have to have some guidelines, you know, otherwise it's every man for himself. It's chaos. And so you have to have some guidelines that give some directional purpose to how the church moves and how the church functions.
So is the manual left up to one's interpretation? Does it vary?
Well, no. There are some variances within the church manual. For example, the baptismal vows. You can choose to have the full 13-point baptismal vows repeated at a baptismal service, or you can choose a more abbreviated version of three, three condensed vows.
But within those three, it still encompasses all 13.
Exactly. Another thing is this: for example, the church manual gives authorization, and this actually happened in 1984, where the representation of the General Conference, which is called an annual council, voted to allow women to serve in the position of elders in a church. Some churches feel uncomfortable with that. The manual also states that it is the local church that makes those decisions, not the conference, not the union conference, not the division. It is the local church that makes those decisions. And so some churches will not have women serving as elders or in a leadership capacity in a church.
But according to the manual, that's their right.
That's their right, correct. But so there's some variances there. But everything is spelled out pretty clearly as to what those variances are and where there's not a variance.
So let me ask you one of the hardest questions that I was asked and I didn't know how to answer. I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
How does the church choose which of the policies, the changes, the world changes to accept and adopt into the church and which ones not to. That issue that I'm discussing is ordination